Hello, welcome to Chess Comedy Books 48. I thought I'd look at some older titles today, things which are sort of 70 years old. I've got some Victorian books and books about Victorian players, for example, Amos Byrne or Blackburn. But I thought it might be quite instructive just to look at some older titles with a view to just having a flick through, and you may still see these books on sale in secondhand bookshops or charity shops, or you may have them tucked away somewhere and haven't really thought about them for ages. Now's a chance to dust them off. Now, the first of these is a book which I think was reprinted. I'm being very hesitant here because to be honest, I can't really remember. This is called Battles Royal of the Chessboard. That's right. That is of itself a somewhat awkward title grammatically. And it is by Neville Coles. Coles was a chess writer, and his work was frequently endorsed by Ray Keane, which is lovely. I'm not knocking it. But on the other hand, he wasn't a grandmaster or anything. I expect he played a pretty demon amateur game. This was published in 1948, and it deals with games which one side didn't so much get when they got the advantage, they didn't press it home properly, or they made a mistake. I'm just reading the introduction here, because I should have done this before I started recording, I suppose. A few of the games will be old favourites. Many of the others will be less well known. The notes are indebted to many sources of analysis, and these have frequently passed through so many hands. It has not been possible to acknowledge the original, except in a few cases. The present collection consists of master examples of the sort of game that White and Black enjoyed so much at the Congress. There may be seen how the masters react when a combination goes wrong or the opponent fights back. Yes, in other words, it ain't plain sailing. It's a lovely book. It's not a volume, I know that well. Let me show you. And if you turn your nose up at English descriptive notation, as far as I'm concerned, used to me. It contains, I don't know, about 50 games, I think. Exactly 50. The very last one is one by Smyslov, and today is the 100th anniversary of his birth in 1921. So Vasily. It also contains the game Botvinnik Alexander. I was thinking it was the game Alexander Botvinnik, where Botvinnik played a premature, though being him, he prepared it, Queen A5 in the winner, but it's not that. Game by Sultan Khan. I wonder if Daniel King, when he wrote his highly controversial book on Sultan Khan, consulted this. Well, Daniel, if you're watching, for the horrible comment. No, it wasn't that horrible. He put on Facebook about me. No, it wasn't that horrible. It was surprising and unwelcome, but it wasn't horrible. I don't believe you would do that. It's von der Laza versus Staunton. It talks about the Pleiades. The astronomers amongst you will know what those are. The chess historians amongst you will know where to look for those. And if you're neither, then, well, goodbye. Yes, it comes up to the Second World War. So the last game was played in 1946, so the war was just over, wasn't it? And it's a game of Smyslov's. There we are. Something a little bit unusual. Now, several in this series, the Club Players series. And here you see a hand of cards. And this is the 2-move chess problems with a material cover. And it was knocked down by Oxfam for £1.49. My thanks to young Chris, as I call him, from Reading, Oxfam. If you're ever in the Reading area, go to Marketplace and you will see the Oxfam shop. Pop in there, see who's on duty. And they specialise in certain chess books. Well, they've got them. Most of them I guess go in and buy myself, but there we are. This is not a book I know anything about at all. I just got it out because it just happened. It's a Bell 1931 with numerous diagrams. It's by B.G. Laws. It has not been the intention of the author of this little book to write a profound and comprehensive dissertation on the art of composing and solving problems generally. It seems to be an era, but perhaps it was a Victorian trait, that you immediately put yourself down, as if to say, don't judge me too harshly. Well, quite frankly, there's nothing harsher than a game of chess, because you get a lot of winners and losers. This explains problems rather than simply explains technical terms and gives examples of various mechanisms with the pieces interacting. I won't go on because I can't go on because I don't know enough about it. But there it is, a very pleasing little book. Now here's something that I can relate much more strongly to: chess and its stars. Brian Harley was a man I would very much like to have met. He died in Bognor Regis. His grandson, Andrew, collaborated with Neil MacDonald on a book on the French, Andrew Harley, and his son, Andrew's father, was Vicar of Eastleigh. Now, that isn't something you wanted to be told, maybe, but he was. And he was promoted to be assistant to the Bishop of Winchester. Maybe Archbishop of Winchester, I'm not sure. Bishop, Archbishop, don't know. Anyway, here he is, looking dated, I think is the word. There he is. Why don't people look like that anymore? Anyway, there he is. Great glasses. This is a collection of his articles, and some of them are brilliant. They're relaxed, they're informed. He goes from looking at Lasker Capablanca to a game by Reshevsky, and then he imagines himself meeting Dr. Johnson, a particular hero of mine, and the great Doctor pontificates, that's not too strong a word, about chess. And here we have Miss Price, a lady obviously who ran the gambit in Budge Row. If you knew that, you're either very clever or Richard James. And here is Mr. Weller from Dickens talking about annotating a game in a sort of clipped provincial way. And they're ranting on about Philidor. I put him down as a great virtuoso of chess and an excellent showman. His achievement of 2 blindfold games simultaneously with another over the board at St. James's Chess Club, hailed by spectators as a miracle, was the subject of a naive comment in his book. Monsieur Philidor subjoins, I love the verb, subjoins the names of his respectable adversaries in order to prove and transmit to posterity a fact of which future ages might otherwise entertain some doubt. At one time, you could get all the Times newspapers online, and going right back 300 years or something. And I keyed in the word chess, and obviously it went black with references, which was lovely. And the first of them was Philidor giving a blindfold Simmel. Forgive me, I can't remember how many boards he played, but it might have been as many as 6. Let's face it, that's pretty impressive. Paul Littlewood, if you're listening, I'm sure you can stretch to 10, because I know you can. Here's Alekhine. He was losing his hand. I think in a way, maybe he did go through much mental torment. There it is anyway. Chess and its stars. Here is a little book, again by Harley, just for the fun of it. It's the sort of thing you think your mother would have said, you know. This was given to Donald with love, Christmas 1942, and I paid 70 pence for it. Prior to this, it was 4 and 6. And this is Bell 1941, so that's during the war. Tells you how to move the pieces. This was first published, just a modification, not correction, in 1933. So that was between the wars. So it shows you about en passant and how to mate with a rook and how to mate with a king against king and white queen. In other words, it's a mating net, isn't it? But being Harley, he also enters into certain problem solving modes. You wouldn't get that in a normal book, a normal beginner's book. Defense by interposal. And you go up to a grandmaster and say, do you know about defense by interposal? And they'll walk away rather than say no and sit down and you can show them. The middle game merges rather vaguely into the end game. When the board has been cleared, exchanges of several of the more important pieces, when the kings are able to sally forth and take an active part in the play without prospect of being caught in a mating trap, the end game, hyphenated, may be said to begin. Quite often, the end game struggle rages round attempts to promote pawns. This man is no fan of just putting things in dull English sentences. He knows how to attract interest and maintain the interest, maintain that interest all the way through. I love that. The chapter heading is a terrible example. And here's a knight on the side of the board. The knight on the rim is trim. The knight on the rim is dim. Here's how to win with a lone king, or how to draw. Well, okay, this is in lots of other books, but it's nice to see it, isn't it? There we are. Let's see what else there's here. Devices and traps. Talks about forks. Look twice at any free gift. You should tell the Greeks that, shouldn't they? If, however, you cannot see a trap, accept the offering. Even if you are wrong, you will learn something. Well, here's hoping. Even if you are wrong, you will learn something, as I said. Do not be too suspicious at chess. Many games are lost through fear of the unknown bogey. Well, don't get worried about the unknown bogey. He gives a little bit of information about the Museo gambit, which has been interesting me for some time. I've been playing a lot of King's Gambits online, and although they haven't been wildly successful, they have been fairly entertaining. So in that respect, I think it's worth pursuing it. He gives the game Anderson versus Kaiseritsky. What event was that played? The answer is it wasn't, but it was played in London, and it's called the Immortal Game. Gives little pen portraits of players: Blackburn, Steinitz, Tarash, a doctor of medicine who now lives. It's lovely that he was still alive then. Yes, he had a long life. After many years' practice in Nuremberg, will live in chess history equally as the strongest and soundest of masters and the voluminous analyst of openings. During the 90s, Dr. Tarash, who developed the theories of Steinitz, was extremely successful in the most important international tourneys, and when at last a match arranged in 1908 between himself and the champion, Dr. Lasker, many experts favoured the chances of the challenger. That's extremely interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that one. However, Lasker won the match by a fairly decisive margin. You're telling me he did. 8 wins to 3 and 5 draws. If chess were made of glass, Tarash would be unbeatable. Now, there's a sort of paradoxical something and nothing phrase. I'll just repeat that, I think. If chess were made of glass, Tarash would be unbeatable. Harley goes on to give an explanation of what he thinks that means. For my own part, I'm not going to spoil it by adding more. I think I've said more than enough. Chess for the fun of it. And there it is. Here's another book by Brian Harley. Meeting 2. It's a bell. And it cost me all of $1.99. Chess editor of the Observer. And he dedicates it to his wife. And once again, he discusses various themes. The Magi theme, the Grimshaw, objective white and black queen interference. This is chess of a very, very different nature to the competitive game that I retired so heavily bruised 40 years ago. It's got lovely little chapter headings with pieces in little squares and sort of cut. Yeah, look. Perhaps it's just me that thinks that's rather nice. See the black king and the white pieces dancing around it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that appears to be it. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Chess Comedy Books 48. I'm James Pratt. Goodbye.